All right, this is Jamaican Dadz podcast extras. We've detained Dr. Michael Abrahams to be with us for a few more minutes. He has a focus, as you would have been listening to on the podcast, about childhood trauma, a project that he is, a topic of extreme importance.
Adverse childhood experiences.
Adverse childhood experiences. And we will ask Doctor to kind of share a little bit with us about it, and then we can explore it in a full program. So,
first of all, Doc, what I'm curious as to would be how early do we begin to see the reality of adverse childhood experiences?
Like from early childhood. Yeah. And by the time you're an adult, it can become significantly magnified.
Because there are things that people will be impacting adult behavior that you don't have a conscious memory of. There are very early.
Sometimes they'll learn responses.
So explain for our viewers what adverse childhood experiences are and its implications.
Right, so the original study was done in San Diego in the 90s, and what they looked at is 10 ACEs, or adverse childhood experiences, under 3 headings: abuse, neglect, and exposure to dysfunction in the home. So under abuse, they looked at physical, emotional, and sexual abuse. Under neglect, they looked at physical and emotional neglect. And under exposure to dysfunction in the home, they looked at exposure to domestic violence, mental illness, drug abuse, having a family member being incarcerated, or divorce or separation. That's 10. And the higher you score on that scale, is the more likely you are to be unwell as an adult, not just mentally, but physically. So for example,
and all outcomes.
Yeah. And your life expectancy gets shorter and shorter.
Oh, wow.
So for example, by the time your ACE score is 3, your cancer risk doubles, and your risk of being suicidal is about 12 times that somebody who scores 0. By the time your ACE score reaches 7 or 8, your risk of being suicidal is about 20 times that of somebody who scores 0, and your cancer risk is triple. So adverse childhood experiences have been correlated with about at least 40 different disorders: depression, anxiety, PTSD, obesity, drug abuse, diabetes, hypertension, asthma, rheumatoid arthritis, juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, long list of conditions. So,
and I think, Doc, I have a little introduction to the topic from my time at the Ministry of Education and Youth, and I think one of the things that Dr. Burke-Harris made the point, who is one of the foremost doctors on the topic, is that you can literally see a change in the brain of the person who has gone through these adverse childhood experiences, as opposed to somebody who has not gone through it or has gone through less. Like they literally, brain looks different.
When a child is chronically abused and neglected, yes, that definitely is true.
Yeah.
And so I give an example, like Whitney Houston and Bobby Brown's daughter.
Yeah.
So she was exposed to domestic violence, exposure to drug use.
Right. A long list of a part of what you had
said. At least 5, and by 21 she was dead.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean everybody with a high ACE score will die, because some people are more resilient than others.
Right.
Some get help and get therapy, but there is a correlation, a distinct correlation.
So, Doc, when they say, for example, hurt people.
That's definitely true.
Yeah.
Most definitely true.
So
That's
we have to
proven.
intervene to break the cycle.
That's it.
And that's why it's important in our country, because we tend to be very violent and aggressive. And you see this beating culture, it has to stop.
Yeah,
If the beating culture doesn't stop, we're not going to get much better.
I have said that,
and the constantly.
And putting neglect on the front burner, because I don't think we have brought like emotional neglect as something that can cause a child real harm. So like just the father not being around, right? It impacts in ways that you don't see up front.
It makes me think, what kinds of cultural contexts are greater adverse circumstances than others? So, like, there are some maybe societies that are more aggressive, and maybe some communities or some living situations that have a greater predisposition towards creating children who may be ACE children.
What I found is that it doesn't really depend on which factors. Once the score is a certain number or higher, once the score goes up, it doesn't really matter which factors are involved. Your risk is just going to be increased because it's chronic stress.
But do you find like a distribution around there or trends in terms of like what Dennis was hinting at a while ago? Like,
in terms of,
you know, do you find children with higher ACE scores coming from certain types of either communities or societies or cultures,
or ethnic groups or demographics?
Groups or, are there any kind of correlations or trends like that being observed?
Because if you have kids, for example, living in a city with a violent kind of environment, most definitely.
Then the things that you're studying are
Right.
because
But
it goes across.
Yeah, right.
Because again, sorry, Marlon, but I think the critical point is that, you know, maybe you are low on the exposure to violence thing, but you're seeing the drug abuse.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Or the physical abuse.
You still see the
Or
emotional
negligence.
Or your
neglect.
parents shouting at each
Absolutely,
other.
the dysfunction in the home. So, you know.
No, and again, what it could be though is that you'll just go find that for some children, they're already gonna, just by being born there, them score 2 points already. Them start at 2
Yeah, the
points.
base score is not zero.
Yeah, the base score
So
is
for example, that's why I was extremely concerned about what happened at Tivoli and the way with the policing sometimes, because you go and they bomb up somewhere and kill off some people. You think, okay, I kill a lot of criminals, I wipe out, but no, what you're creating is a whole heap of trauma.
because
Yeah.
Protege said it. Protege said it. So like
yes,
those
yeah.
that were
Yeah.
at 10, I can't remember the line for some
Yeah.
strange reason, and,
Yeah,
and
just
such
a
a part of
blanket.
man. When I said
Yeah.
no, them are 16 forward because he did.
But I can tell you,
So at 16, that's
I
what
had
he
a
created.
complete experience where we went down to Tivoli and gave young people an opportunity to share and just to talk, and just that, let me tell you,
Heartrending.
very emotional.
Yeah.
People had a lot of pent up, and it happens in everything of that nature. But
Yeah.
we have to have a longer program.
We will ventilate it fully.
We
So,
have
Doc,
to.
what is your work in this now? Is it clearly there's an interest. Is it something you're pursuing to study in Jamaica, to address, etc.?
It's something I hope to get more involved in. I haven't really been doing research yet, but every opportunity I get, I'm like an evangelist with this.
Yeah.
So every opportunity I get, I'll talk about it.
Yeah.
We will give you
And
a
then-
platform, sir.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right, that's it for Jamaican Dadz podcast extras with Dr. Michael Abrams, as we discussed just now. Just teased the tip of the iceberg, so to speak. Adverse childhood experiences and its effects on, well, the future, literally, because that's what happens. All right, thanks a lot for tuning in, folks. We've got lots more here on the channel for you, so please stick and stay with us as always and share with your friends.